Omalo. Good evening.
Good evening, Siobhan. Good evening, Sanjay.
Good evening, Omalo.
Siobhan, what would be more effective? For the government to tell you what they're doing, or you on the ground feel what they're doing?
Obviously the second.
Yeah.
To feel what they're doing.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
I think they need to let the people start feeling it, rather than begging people to listen and hear what they're doing.
Fair point.
I think that would be very more.
That's a very
more
fair
effective.
point, yes.
Yeah. Over to Isaac. Yeah. I want to ask a question. Why this outcry never came when he was going into our courthouse?
It did.
It did?
Yes.
That he shouldn't be serving in the court, and he was all over the news and stuff like that?
Yes, it did.
I don't know if it was all over the news, but it was in the news.
And there were quite a few lawyers who simply suggested that he should not have been given the opportunity.
Okay.
It was brought to the GLC, and they had to arbitrate it.
Let me ask the next question. So, one that went and get rehabilitation, yeah, did their time. Should they come out and expect that there is limitation as to how far they can go now in life?
I believe so, yes.
You believe so?
Yes.
So you don't believe in forgiveness then?
No, forgiveness and, as I said, forgiveness and having something simply forgotten are two different things. There's for example, a reason we won't allow a sex offender who has his record expunged or served his time or rehabilitated, quote unquote, from serving in the nation schools.
Very much so, based on the crimes that he has committed and based on around children and stuff like that. Yeah, but we have nothing in our constitution that prevents Isaac from becoming
No, we do not.
MP.
This is not a legal argument. This is a moral argument. This is an ethical argument.
So we do this legal argument some of the times, and some of the times we do it morally.
No, I for one think that we should put a point in the Constitution which suggests that once you've had a criminal conviction, you cannot serve in the Parliament. I'm all for that.
What I'm saying, if you're going to just limit it to the Parliament, you got to place it in almost every in the courthouse. The courthouse is just as
no, but that provision already exists in the courthouse. He's allowed to serve as a lawyer because his Jamaican conviction was expunged, and even upon that basis, it still had to go to the GLC, and the GLC had to hear arguments and discussions and all of that to say whether he could or could not serve. And I pulled the thing up because I keep referencing this back every time people bring up Mr. Buchanan, and this was the conclusion of the GLC on that matter. After considering all the evidence, counsel concluded by a majority that both the subjective test and the objective test had been satisfied. As regards to the subjective test, members were in no doubt that the applicant had been fully rehabilitated and did not pose any undue risk to the public. The objective test was more challenging. Counsel recognized that some members of the legal profession and of the public generally may consider that admitting the applicant would adversely affect the reputation of the profession, but concluded that most would share its view that in all circumstances the applicant would be an asset to the profession. For these reasons, the council decided by a majority to approve the application and to issue the applicant a qualifying certificate and a certificate pursuant to Section 6 of the Legal Profession Act. No,
and this guy was in the Privy Council, right? He went to the Privy Council to fight a case, right?
Yes.
Yes.
But my question then to you, Omalu, is this is from 2017. My question is, Omalu, if you spoke to the members of that panel today who adjudicated this matter, would they share the same opinion?
Why not? Why not? What crime has he committed since then? Human beings are fallible, Human beings are not perfect,
I'm not calling for infallibility. I'm not calling for infallibility, Mr. Omalu. There, I'm suggesting that there are some annals of our country that that certain individuals should not be permitted to, based on their antecedents.
That if we have
that is the standard for any profession, any culture has things that bar them from certain areas.
If we have people of great talent and they have rehabilitated themselves
I'm not asking him to not do it. I hear he's a very good singer and he writes songs. He can do that if he wishes. I have no problem with that. I'm saying he can't serve in the parliament. That is what I'm saying.
You see, here's the problem that I have, Omalo, and I share the thoughts with you. As Siobhan just read in that conclusion, it says, after considering all the evidence, council concluded by a majority that both the subjective test and the objective test had been met. As regards to the subjective test, and they go further to talk about that, but the point that I'm trying to make is they indicated that based on their reviewing of all that was placed before them, the individual had been fully rehabilitated and did not pose any undue
And more
risk
recently, that same GLC said that he should be suspended until he called for that to be.
But Siobhan, we are weighing now what he but what the comments that he made, was it criminal?
I'm not suggesting he was a criminal complaint.
But we're talking about the criminal aspect of it.
Once again, Sanjay, we are arguing semantics. I'm not talking a legal case against Mr. Buchanan. I'm suggesting that once you have committed certain actions and certain crimes, regardless of rehabilitation or not, you should not be allowed to sit in the Parliament of Jamaica.
Okay, lobby the politicians to change the law.
Forgiveness and rehabilitation is not something without its limits.
For real? Then you are going to limit the growth of the country because you are
by barring criminals from serving in the House of Representatives. I'm going to limit.
Yes.
All right, Omalo. Then in that response, I will say I am fine with limiting the growth of the country in such a way as to bar people with criminal convictions from serving in the Parliament. I am willing to accept that. I am willing to accept that limitation on our Parliament.
Maybe then what the point that Amal is making
because
is
that's your
correct.
opinion. Yeah.
Bring it back to the politicians then.
Rehabilitated in this country and any other country.
No. I have acceded to your argument in the Omalo. I am willing to accept the limitation of this country if it means barring people with criminal antecedents from serving in our Parliament. I am willing to accept that.
I accept what you are.
Very well.
Yeah, I accept
I am willing to die on that hill, Omalo.
And I respect it.
All right.
For me, I'm saying if this man has something to contribute and the society, of a whole, find him to be rehabilitated, I think we should give him the chance, not to stifle.
Oh no, he has been given chances, He has been given chances, and he has been found wanting subsequent to those chances he's been given.
Well, we are a country of law and order, and let's live by the laws and
You can't have law and order without a moral background behind it in the Omalo. I don't know how people think that. I don't see how people
with morals and all of these things.
Really? Where do you think we get our jurisprudence from?
We are not living in a.
What do you think informs our jurisprudence if not the Abrahamic and biblical faith?
No, we are not living in a theologian society.
It's not a matter of theology. I'm talking morals and theology are not exactly inextricably linked, They have a linkage, but they can also be separated. That's why we have ethics as well.
Yeah, but morals are subjective, And what you would
and every society has a subjective law.
Yeah, morals are subjective.
And laws are subjective too as well, Omalo.
What you would consider to be morally, a next person maybe would see it as
which is why we have society that set laws,
So that's why I said I respect your point of view, and I hope, if this is the way, if this is the society we are in right now, I don't say this guy should be paying.
So we should not strive for a better society. We should just allow it to continue to descend and descend and descend till nobody wants to live here.
But hold on, Siobhan, because how is it that the society is descending if we're allowing someone who is fully rehabilitated?
And I suggest by his own actions, Mr. Buchanan has shown he is not fully rehabilitated.
Because of a statement that he made, he's not fully rehabilitated from a criminal conviction. Because you're comparing two different things.
Let me put the two things on the table because they're linked at the end of the day. He was given not one, but 2 second chances. Upon those 2 second chances being given, he was allowed to become essentially what is considered an exemplar of the law, a lawyer. a profession that people expect a certain ethical and moral standard above others.
Let me
In
read
that
this
position,
for you.
in
A
that
lawyer-
position,
hold on.
in
A
that
lawyer just
position.
said to me, Siobhan, let me read this. A lawyer just said to me, what Siobhan is proposing is immoral because it amounts to a forever punishment.
How is it? How are
It's
you
a forever
punished?
punishment,
So
Siobhan.
anybody who does not make it to to make it to as an MP in this country is forever
Because
punished.
you are restricting the individual to say
And criminal individuals are restricted.
Because
In other ways, criminals are restricted, even when they come out of prison.
This is someone who has been rehabilitated. The conviction was expunged in Jamaica, but yet you're saying it should still hover over his head, even though he was expunged.
In a simple and single instance where he sits in the House of Representatives, that is where I believe, yes, he should be limited from sitting. It is not a matter of him not being allowed to practice law. It's not a matter of him not being allowed to enjoy the fruits of labor in a profession other than sitting in the House of Representatives as a representative of the people, as a representative of me. I expect better from my members of parliament than to have a criminal record. It's as simple as that.
Siobhan, just a minute. Next thing, the big companies say we can't put you in there to work in where we get in the grocery. You're too close to the money. You're too, and sooner or later we have the people and being just subjected to being a forever punishment because they are not trustworthy to work in certain place.
So you're suggesting that a bank should allow somebody who has been convicted of fraud to work there because he's been rehabilitated? That is essentially what you're showing. That's what you're suggesting, and you're saying that we should look past it. No, but that is a silly statement you made, Omalu. A person convicted of fraud, a person convicted of theft. You're saying that person should now go to a bank and say, you know, boss, I know I have a criminal conviction in this area that is directly related to my job. Please give me a chance. And then he said, well, no, sir. Because of that criminal conviction, we are not going to allow you to do this. He has now been forever punished.
Sharon, what do you mean by someone rehabilitated? I don't understand. I'm lost.
They have done their debt to society and paid for the crime by going to prison. Does not mean
that's all rehabilitation is.
And that they're not expected to commit the crime again.
And maintain a moral standard after all of that and continue living like
you go back to this moral standard, and I suggest to you that Mr. Buchanan, even after all of that, based on his more recent actions, has not lived up to that moral standard, Omalu.
You're saying that we must create...
You want somebody to sit in the parliament after they've disparaged the DPP and tell them DPP what them to do, should they watch it, not sit? No, Omalu. Absolutely not. Absolutely not, Omalu. Absolutely not.
We must create limitations for people that maybe have a long life and can be successful and
absolutely not, Omalu. Believe what you would like to believe, Amalo, but no, I say that someone who, after having 2 convictions, being given a 3rd chance, then goes on to disparage the Director of Public Prosecutions, tell the Director of Public Prosecutions what to do with him, what's it, not it, and then on top of that, go tell the legal counsel, say, the people who listen to him, the reason he talks in a certain way today is because I'm uneducated and dunce. That person should now go and sit in the House of Representatives and be a moral arbiter of our country's laws and regulations. Absolutely not, Omalu. I am done with this discussion. Cut him. David, good evening.
Evening, Sanjay and Siobhan.
Sure. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, just one thing I want to say about that. Just a question to Sanjay. Sanjay, do you know of anyone ever been in the police force or the military who have ever been convicted?
It's not allowed.
It's not allowed?
Not allowed.
No.
Same principle supposed to be for the government. Full stop. Anyway, Sanjay.
So because it's not allowed in the police force, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's right. I am a firm believer in rehabilitation.
So you would be comfortable with a criminal convict, Sanjay, working in your police force, just like you'd be comfortable with someone who was accused of bank fraud working at a bank?
All I'm saying.
I'm saying certain actions must bar you from certain areas.
I was gonna stop on this, but Sanjay, would you like a sex offender to be hired by a school as a
No, but let me ask you though. No, but let me ask you, what is the harm? What is the harm in having somebody who has been rehabilitated from a conviction? And I'm not talking about a sex offender now, because that is different. To sit in our parliament, what is the harm?
Well,
wait. What is the harm to having a sex offender sit in the parliament?
No.
I think I missed what you said. So I just want to hear what you said.
I said separate from a sex offender. I'm not including a sex offender.
Very well.
Right. And we just want to make that very clear. What is the harm in having someone who has been rehabilitated to sit in our parliament?
Yes, that's the problem what you guys have with parliamentarians. You guys look down on parliamentarians. I've heard numerous a time how you guys cuss parliamentarian. You call them.
No, but hold on, man. No. I want to answer the question. What is the harm?
Yeah, I'm getting to that. So because the society think of parliamentarian in this lower standard, they don't deserve the money that they get and all these stuff. So anybody can serve into parliament. Remember, the children are looking upon parliamentarian. Parliamentarian supposed to be an example for children. You understand me? So if our children can look upon a parliamentarian, so like a pastor, because I would never want a convicted sex offender pastor to be pastoring over my church.
But you have pastors have pastors though who have committed a crime, turned their lives to Christ, and are preaching. So you wouldn't listen to that pastor then?
Yeah, but you know what?
Oh, you would. Right?
In some church.
Okay.
That's the one that will start a church and just go about. But when you have structural church like the Jehovah's Witness, Adventists, and all this stuff, they will never allow that. They wouldn't allow it.
Right, but I'm asking.
But you're asking him his specific moral opinion, Sanjay, and he says he would not support a pastor who has been so
convicted. You would not support a pastor?
I wouldn't.
Because he said it?
I wouldn't.
Okay.
I wouldn't. Okay. And I suspect a lot of people wouldn't, if it was a sex offender. But anyway, drugs has done a lot to our children. But I wanted to talk to about what's his name again? Not Sanjay. Trevor,
yes.
You always say you don't believe that the Integrity Commission is maliciously
Yes, I stick to that. I believe they're slaves to the very, very specific interpretation of the law, and as a result, it has limited their ability to practice discretion. That's how I'll put it.
Yeah, but I beg to differ on the sequence of events that keep on happening. You understand me? And for a structural body like this, why they couldn't come out and tell the opposition, say, yo, stop it? Because they know that it's hurting their credibility. Why they didn't come out and say, you know what, stop it? Let's wait on me and don't politicize this whole thing. I think he could have come out and said that. And the next thing, I also think that when Greg Christie twice sought to bring the Prime Minister name in disrepute, twice, none of them never came out and say, you know what, I don't agree with that, and you should have stopped it and do it publicly. Everybody's silent on that. And now you drop a report like this, which is untidy, you understand me? And then you just leave it out there, and when you hear one of the director and the investigator, how they speak about the Prime Minister, in how they wrote, like they're reprimanding the Prime Minister. You understand me? It could show the dislike in the Prime Minister for you to really write a report like that. And when I heard, I haven't read the report, but when I heard other snips as well, like this morning on your show from from one of the morning hosts, and they speak about what the Prime Minister has replied, and they didn't get back to him and all this stuff. I'm wondering if they really do a proper, if they never meant harm. Because, I mean, you know, we're all human beings, you know. And we know the politics and the timeline when you're ready to come out with a report and the longevity. And we know, because I've grown up in Jamaica in a highly political society. And a lot of these people hide in creases and corner and do malicious things to people. You understand me? So I really believe that there's something. If you're not raised to that, they need to answer a question about it. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree with you, Colin, that the report as it stood when it was tabled in Parliament is untidy. As in, I believe they should have sent it to the FID, had the FID look at it, and then table that report. But
remember,
but I cannot.
We're talking about special people, you know. We're not talking about someone who would just pick up off the road. We're talking about we pay our money to highly intelligent people to investigate and do all these stuff. And you spend over 3 years. And I heard in one report that it was $30,000. And I'm thinking about you probably about 4 to 5 investigators working, you know. So for 3 years you have to pay about 4 or 5 persons to work. And one person. And then you don't, then when I heard it's just a single percentage out of what you have to go through and you're just targeting on one person, and you expect me to believe that these guys are really up. I think they did that because they cannot justify the money that they spent on one person. I just think that's my belief. I think they cannot justify. So they just prolong the investigation to muddy up the water and see what can become out of it. Because there's no way someone should zero in on someone for 3 years investigating them, come up with nothing. And then I have a problem with why people always carrying lawyers to look through a financial document. I rather to get the and I've seen it on numerous stations and stuff. People try to get lawyers and all these commentators and all this stuff. Why we can't get a good auditor or someone with a financial background to look over these documents and give us more proper because I'm not in that field. So I would love to hear from those people.
Well, we had Dennis Chung, who's a chartered accountant, who looked through it and said that as much as what he's seen there, and I'm sure the FID will be able to dig deeper and get additional information on the matter, but as he sees there, he did not see, he was quite dubious about what the Integrity Commission was suggesting.
You know, there's so much. I'm just worried about the man's family, Andrew and his family, what they have to go through. You understand me? The children have to be in, you know, they probably be mocked in school, you know, the sus around his parents, the heartache. No one deserves that. And that slappiness and the Integrity Commission really, if it's up to me, the whole Parliament should march them out right there and call them in front of them immediately. And people, I can't understand why people don't angry about it. Because there are people hurting. There are people hurting and you can't spend millions of dollars. These people are high-paid people. It's not like people who you pick up off of the garbage, who are collecting garbage. These are high-paid people. These are qualified people, best investigator. And they spend billions of dollars and they can't come up to one conclusion. I mean, we send people go to space.
What I will agree, one of the things that I will say before I move to agreeing with you on one aspect of something you said, the Integrity Commission and the members that make up the Integrity Commission, they're highly qualified, no doubt about that, yeah, and respectable individuals within the society. And what is evident is that they decide not to put a seal of approval because they have concerns. And those concerns they have listed. What I will agree with, and in looking back at the law and everything that exists regarding referring the matter to the FID, I will agree with you and Siobhan and ask, and I would really like to hear from the Integrity Commission, why is it that it was not submitted to the FID prior to making the information public? Because on one hand, they're saying that the matter could not be referred to the FID in that way, even though they have the MOU. But now other individuals are saying, yes, the law dictates that they can work with the FID.
And I add to that, Sanjay.
We need some clarity.
I'm not going to out anybody at the FID, but I spoke to individuals at the FID who said they could have sent it to us at any time.
Yeah.
So one question. Does Pamela Monroe have anything to do with this whole thing? Because she have so much power and so much skills and all this stuff. Did they seek her advice?
They don't have to. One of the things that was changed with the Integrity Commission Act is that they do not have to seek the approval of the DPP when seeking criminal prosecutions.
No, I'm talking about
the Auditor General is saying.
I'm talking about the
Auditor. Well, she sits on the commission.
She sits on the commission, but she, in this instance, she wouldn't have any say.
Did they seek her?
Well, she sits on the commission, so
Pamela Monroe.
Well, she sits on the Integrity Commission, so I'm sure she would have voiced her opinion on the matter.
Did they seek her for expertise, I'm saying? Did they seek for expertise on this whole situation? That's what I'm saying, it's sloppy. You can't have high people paying so much hundreds of dollars, $1 million a year, these people getting out of the money and doing some sloppy work like this. You know, my employer would never accept that. I'm telling you, I don't live there. And I know, I don't. Where I live, we don't play. You mess up like that. You can't come to a conclusion on that. You're fired.
I'm really waiting, though. Listen,
you can't have a qualification and come to a boss and say you can't.
I'm really looking forward to them being before the Oversight Committee, because that will answer some. I hope we will get some answers to certain critical questions, such as the one that you listed. Why is it that it wasn't sent to the FID and reach a point of finality than doing this roundabout way, so to speak? So I'm hoping when they come before that Oversight Committee, at least they will provide some clarity as to why they
Sanjay,
vote it that way.
Are you satisfied paying these people these tonloads of money and getting sloppy work from them like this?
I am concerned as to the way they did it, but I want to hear from them why they decided to go about that way.
I'm saying every time they put out a report, you get me? Mm-hmm. There's something wrong with the report. They're sloppy.
I wouldn't say every. No, I don't think it's fair to say every time.
No, because every time you have questions.
No. It's not fair to say every time they have published a report it's sloppy. I will agree that the previous report that they had sent in relation to the Prime Minister and how they went about doing it, I had some concerns about that.
But they addressed that.
Subsequent to that, they have addressed it. Yeah.
What about the report that they table and say the Prime Minister corrupt?
That's what I'm talking about.
That's the report that's on.
That's the report I'm talking about.
And they have since changed their procedures.
Correct.
And what about the other valves for the PNP side that they misrepresent and all this stuff? And come on, every report I heard that come out and I read that's come to national attention, it seems as if it have a flaws. And I can't believe that we are paying these guys so much money. And you guys must demand more. Just as how you demand more from the politician. You see, this is why I have with Jamaica. They keep on blaming the politician, and the right people who to be blamed never get the blame, so the thing can't done properly, and then on the complain. Civil servants have a lot to play. There's so much little a politician can do. And you guys blame politicians all the while. When time a road don't fix, when time you look on the procurement standpoint and people dragging their feet in government and the slow pace of government, and you blame politicians because they're supposed to write the policy. And when the politician ready to act, you guys the people and jump down their union and you guys back them. Oh, you can't fire them because it's not your rent to fire them and do all this stuff. I mean, if you guys want a better country, bro, you got to demand more from you got to give the politician more power hold them to that.
That is a fair request. To call for better from our integrity commission in terms of how they handle things. That is not an unreasonable request.
Not only I'm talking about to the whole entire government.
Precisely. That's not an unreasonable request.
These people hide it. If I'm the head of tax office, why should I collect a lot of money on the behalf of the government if I know they're going to cost the government when they fall short on budget? Why should I work hard? You understand me? They're going to blame the government anyway. Unless you guys give the government, listen to me, you have a appraisal, and if you don't meet the appraisal, then you can get fired. You understand me? Because since the buck stop with me, then I'm going to determine, and I can show from where and where, and then we can fire them. And I get you guess, then the civil servant will start to work. But as long as you have this policy where they just blame the government, you know, the road mash up back. Oh, it's the government, it's the politicians.
But you should know, Colin, it's not that easy to fire a civil servant, you know. You should know, Colin, it's not that easy to fire a civil servant. It would be easier.
On my ending,
it is easier to fire a politician than a civil servant. Let me just put it that way.
I know, but I'm going to be on the close, and I really do appreciate you guys, on a young and, you know, on a very skilled in our craft, and I really appreciate it. But please demand more from civil servants, likewise the politician.
All right.
Thank you, caller.
Before we go to the next caller, while this has nothing to do with the matter that I have raised regarding Mr. Buchanan, but I find it interesting that I have a parallel in my own life which I can reach to. I have an uncle who was twice convicted of drug trafficking. As unfortunate as it is to say I have that kind of relationship with somebody. And I recall on the first conviction when I had to go with my mother to Halfway Tree, I think at the time it was Halfway Tree Parish Court, or whatever they called it at the point. And my mother had to sit in the witness stand as a character witness. And she pleaded profusely with the judge and the prosecutors for leniency. And as a result, because she is somebody of high moral character, recognized by both political parties as an exemplar in terms of her service, her civil service. And on that basis, they commuted his conviction and allowed him to leave. No stain on his reputation, nothing. He then repeated the same crime just a few years later. Was arrested in the United States. And my mother did not even bat an eye. He had to serve out his sentence in the United States. When he came back, however, she gave him a little money, gave him a little plot of land down in Clarendon, same place, and told him to make something of himself. And today he's a successful farmer, doing quite well.
And he has been rehabilitated.
But my mother made it clear that nothing else he could request of her, she would do it. She was so ashamed, so insulted that after what she did in terms of putting her own reputation on the line, for him to then go and do the exact same thing, that even as a member of her family, there was only so far she would allow him to go further. And I just use that to suggest that crimes have their consequences. And when you then commit a crime, the consequence flows. You're given a certain level of leniency. You then commit the crime again. The consequences flow. And on top of that, you're then given leniency to go further. And on top of that, you still show a lack of moral turpitude. It suggests to me, at some point, Jamaicans have to look and say, why are we doing this?
But remember, Siobhan, that rehabilitation is not just about imprisonment. Rehabilitation is more than that. Because you're trying that rehabilitation is not just about imprisonment. Rehabilitation is more than that. Because you're trying to restore the individual to a normal life, and that is going to
And are we suggesting that Mr. Buchanan is not living a normal life? Are we suggesting by him not going to Parliament, he's unable to live a normal life?
No. I was defining what rehabilitation is. I'm saying you're restoring the individual to a normal life through training and therapy. So it's not just about going to prison.
I'm not going to argue with you on that one, Sandra, but what I'm suggesting to you is him being rehabilitated, the fact that he has committed certain crimes should still bar him from certain annals of power. It is just that simple. I don't know how this matter must be complicated beyond that. And he has his legal right to do it. I cannot challenge that. But if I heard that they were going to put forward a law that barred anyone with a criminal conviction from serving the House of Representatives, I would be in full support. I believe that should be part of our Constitution. Your rights are privileges. They are not without limit.